You said we are not done and that Combs did not do this alone. Do you foresee that there could be other charges related to this case?
I'm not taking anything off the table.
Are we about to see more people face criminal charges in connection with the racketeering and sex trafficking case of Shawn Diddy Combs? High-profile people in the entertainment industry are speaking out about what could be next and whether those around Combs or at his parties could be in trouble. We're going to sort it out with attorney Afi Patterson. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Yo, what's poppin', Rick Mill family? I appreciate everybody that's been joining in, showing so much love and support. You guys are amazing. Pretty much we're going to be covering what's going on with Diddy today some more. It seems like everybody's been raving about it, man, and your boy's been going through it, as you can see, man. So essentially, we're going to be diving into with Law and Crime today. Apparently, they're going to be talking about, hypothetically, if some of Diddy's friends, you know, the high-powered moguls inside Hollywood are going to get caught up inside this whole fiasco, this whole issue that's going on with Diddy. Are there going to be charges against J-Lo? Is more information going to come out in regards to Diddy, I guess, with Meek Mill or any of these people that he was invited to his free calls? Are they going to be implicated? Let's go ahead and dive in, get some more information, and see what else we can learn. And if you're here for the first time, I appreciate you for dropping in. You can go ahead and hit the sub button if you do like the content. If you're my loyal supporter, just go ahead and hit the like button for me, man. Let's go ahead and run these likes up. Let's get the algorithm going. Let's get this pushed out there. I appreciate everybody jumping in. Thanks so much for the love and support. Let's see what's going on with Diddy.
Here's a question for you. Who else could be in trouble after Shawn Diddy Combs' arrest and indictment? I think that's a fair question. It's a fair question because Damian Williams, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, whose office is prosecuting Combs, was essentially asked just that. And it's a fair question. Why? Because going back to the indictment, what is alleged? He is charged with racketeering conspiracy, namely agreeing with others to further a criminal enterprise that engaged in sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, So
I'm pretty sure they're going to read some of this. Let's go ahead and take a look to see what some of this is saying. All right. For decades, Shawn Combs, a.k.a. Puff Daddy, a.k.a. P. Diddy, a.k.a. Diddy, a.k.a. PD, a.k.a. Love, the defendant abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. What? To do so, Combs relied on employees, resources, and influence in multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson. Yo, dude, I'm going, wow.
Arson, bribery, obstruction of justice, that this enterprise had members and associates. And prosecutors say he engaged in persistent and pervasive abuse of women that went on for a long period of time, that there were witnesses to this abuse, that Combs has employees that carry out and facilitate and cover up abuse and illegal sex acts. In fact, the government said they interviewed over 50 witnesses and victims. So what I'm trying to say is he is charged with racketeering conspiracy and sex trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion, transportation to engage in prostitution. So the government is making the case that he did not do this on his own. He did not act alone. There were people who were around him. There were people who were helping him. And at the very least, there were witnesses to what was going on. I mean, for a conspiracy and criminal enterprise, racketeering, those kind of charges itself, you need more than just yourself. You need others. Someone needs to be a part of it. And just to go back to the indictment, one of the central allegations are these alleged illegal sexual events. So coming from the indictment, it says, quote, Combs and other members and associates of the Combs enterprise wielded the power and prestige of Combs' role at the Combs business to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into Combs' orbit, often under the pretense of a romantic relationship. Combs then used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sex acts with male commercial sex workers that Combs referred to as, among other things, freak-offs. Freak-offs were elaborate and produced sex performances that Combs arranged, directed, pleasured himself during, and often electronically recorded. In arranging these freak-offs, Combs, with the assistance of members and associates of the Combs enterprise, transported and caused to be transported commercial sex workers across state lines and internationally. Freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasted multiple days, and have often involved multiple commercial sex workers. During freak-offs, Combs distributed a variety of controlled substances to victims, in part to keep the victims obedient and compliant. Sometimes, unbeknownst to the victims, Combs kept videos he filmed of victims engaging in sex acts with commercial sex workers. It goes on to say that members and associates of the Combs enterprise, including high-ranking supervisors, security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and other Combs business employees, facilitated the freak-offs. And that has become the question. Could other people be in trouble? Could they be prosecuted too? Now, to be clear, Combs is the only one who's currently charged right now. He's the only one named in that indictment. No one else is actually listed in that indictment. No one else is referenced by name. It is very general. But in the government's detention memo to the court arguing why Combs should be denied bail, and by the way, he's since been denied bail twice, they write, quote, "The investigation into his and other co-conspirators' conduct is active and ongoing." And you know what spurned that question for us about whether other people could be in trouble too? Some of the reaction that we have been seeing post-indictment. Sports analyst Stephen A. Smith asking if people in Hollywood are scared.
Are the folks in Hollywood lying back in wait, wondering who's next? If you have workers that you can target and they can be punished, it's presumed they're going to dime him out, and ultimately they're going to force him to comply. And Diddy is going to dime out a whole bunch of people.
Then we have broadcast personality Charlemagne.
Yeah, imagine that, though. Just think about that. Think about that. Just think about what they just said, man. Like, imagine that. Like, what if Diddy really have compromising information against all these elites that were partying with him at the freak-offs, doing all type of crazy stuff? What's about to come out inside this case? It's about to get crazy, guys. Like, it's about to really get wild. Like, think about it. I wonder, like, all right, it took 6 months after they raided Diddy's mansion for them to actually make this move on him. How much longer after this whole case happens, and who else is about to get caught up in this? Like, just whoever your favorite celebrity is, man. Let's just watch out and see where it goes from there, because this is getting crazy.
Who said on The Breakfast Club that others could be in trouble.
If he gets racketeering and sex trafficking for freak-offs, there will be others involved. If you ever been butt naked anywhere with Diddy, or half butt naked with Diddy, and there was some women around or some men around that he told you were part of the party, you're probably going to jail.
You know what's difficult? You know what's tough? Reading through legal briefs and filings to prepare for Sidebar. It's like I'm back in law school. Being told I look like Dennis Reynolds every single time I check the comments. That wears on you. At this point, I think people think he hosts the show. Again, it's tough. But you know what's not difficult? Starting a claim with Morgan & Morgan. How about that transition, by the way? Well, Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, they make the process as easy as possible for their clients, because from starting your claim to uploading documents to talking to your legal team, it can all be done from your smartphone. There's no upfront fee. You only pay them if you win. And speaking winning, Morgan & Morgan, they have a track record of securing verdicts and settlements in the multi-millions. So if you're injured, this may be the firm you want in your corner. You can easily start a claim at forthepeople.com/LC Sidebar. Rapper Foxy Brown wrote on her Instagram story, "S about to really get crazy." So I guess the implication is maybe other people might be a part of this. Now, to be very clear, they're just commenting on the indictment. They aren't accused of being a part of this case in any way. And to couple that, here's what rapper 50 Cent had to say before the indictment back in August in an interview with Us Weekly. He wrote, "I'm the only..."
Yeah, before we look into what 50's saying, man, y'all already know 50 is a troll. 50 is a troll. So let's see what 50 got to say. Because you know 50's not going to let this down. He's not letting this down. Diddy's been on his radar like Ja Rule back in the day. Like, don't mess with 50, man. Leave 50 alone. Leave 50 alone.
The only person in hip-hop culture who has produced any hit television. Why wouldn't I be the person to produce it? And I'm not on the tapes. See, some of the people who have been around in the culture who are not saying anything, that's because they've been to the parties. They don't know what part of their experiences are on tape. So it keeps them quiet, and it looks like I'm the only guy, but I've been for years that something's not right. And again, he's not been implicated in Combs' alleged criminal allegations in any way. He's just commenting on it. And when you think of Combs, he has always been known for his extravagant parties, the white parties. We talked about this on a previous Sidebar, that in light of these disturbing allegations that were made in the multiple lawsuits that he faced, accusing him of sexual assault and sex trafficking, that this is something that became an issue. In fact, here's what Ashton Kutcher said about Combs' parties on the show Hot Ones.
Okay, I've got a lot I can't tell. So, can't tell that one either.
Then this was NBA star LeBron James' comment.
Oh, hey, everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah.
We heard from rapper Uncle Luke, who spoke with the podcast We in Miami.
You party with Diddy a lot?
Oh, no, not really. I would go to the party and leave early.
You know how wild the party has to be if you got Uncle Luke? If you got Uncle Luke saying, hey, I got to leave early, I can't be a part of this. You know how wild that party got to be? Like, that got to be some off-the-wall 69 God type stuff, man.
Why wouldn't you stay?
I go to the party and leave early. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what goes on after hours, but
He wasn't trying to find out.
I wasn't trying to find out.
Now, to be clear, these statements from Kutcher, James, Uncle Luke, they were before this criminal indictment, and some even before these allegations of Combs even surfaced. And we have no indication or evidence that they knew anything that's being alleged or in any way a part of this case whatsoever. I just want to be clear about that. So as Combs currently sits behind bars after being denied bail twice, and as this case and investigation continue, I want to talk about this. So for that, I want to bring on Afi Patterson, attorney out of Los Angeles, litigation attorney out of Los Angeles. I like to think of her as our resident hip-hop expert. She knows so much about this, a hip-hop trial expert, I should say. Knows the ins and outs, has been following a lot of these cases recently. Afi, thank you so much for coming on. It's good to see you. As I said, it's been a minute since we've had a chance to talk. I'm going to ask you the question I've asked every single person I've asked this week. Your reaction to the arrest and indictment of Shawn Combs. Is it what
I said this back in November? Yes, absolutely. It's what I expected. I think that he was indicted a long time ago, and the indictment was held. I think they've had this, they've had this for a minute. The question is, that's everybody's asking right now is, are there going to be other people? But what we've seen right now is just one person. When people think of RICO, they think, of course, of a huge enterprise. But all you need with RICO is one person, 2 acts over a 10-year period. It's super easy to get a RICO charge, and super easy, of course, to get an indictment. So it's absolutely what I expected. And I also expect a conviction, a swift one.
But in the indictment, they mention not 1 or 2 people. They mention a network. They're mentioning a lot of people who helped be a part of this or facilitated this. So is there a feeling right now? And I guess the question could be, when you hear these statements being made by prosecutors in their filings and the United States attorney in this press conference, the argument is, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is this a siren out to everybody? Listen, he just got indicted. You come to us before we come to you. Do you get that sense?
No, I think that when you put the full weight of the U.S. Attorney's Office behind any statement, it's intimidating. I think that it was more like, you'll be in trouble if you don't respond favorably to us. And we see that in that only one person was charged. Only Puffy was charged in this RICO issue. And I think more than anything, they want people to participate. They want people to willingly provide information. They don't want to have to bring down the full weight of the office and, use unnecessary resources. Come forward if you have information. If we know who you are and where you are and we come to talk to you, play nice with us, and nothing will happen. That's what I got from that.
Why do you think there was only one person mentioned in this indictment? Obviously, there could be a superseding indictment. Mm-hmm. There could be other people who are additionally charged. We've seen that in cases before. Do you think that this is common to just indict Shawn Combs, the alleged head of this organization, and that we might see other people indicted? Or do you think there's something else there, that they already have everybody that they need? They are going to be cooperating witnesses. There's nobody else to charge at this time.
I don't think there's anyone else to charge at this time. I think they wanted Puffy, and they went after him, and they got what they needed. And now all they need is more support to buoy their position. I think that if anything, with the more people that come forward, there could be more charges. I'll tell you, when I read the indictment, I thought that there would be more financial crime.
There's no way that this is going to go through and they're not going to charge more people. There's no way. I think YSL's RICO case, they have over 100 people that they're bringing in as witnesses, and they're bringing a whole bunch of the whole YSL group is getting charged. Anybody affiliated with them has faced charges or been applied pressure on, so that way they can get turned on. So there's no way that it's just going to be Diddy that's just going to get. They're just going to cut the head off of the snake, as they would say. But there's more charges to come. This case is going to be wild. We think YSL thug case them exposing all the corruption on the Georgia side. Wow. Now we about to see what the exposure inside Hollywood is like. This whole case, everything has just been wild, boy. It's been a whole wild.
Crimes, more drug crimes. I was a little shocked that it was mainly surrounding the facts that we saw in Ventura's complaint back in November. So if anything, I think more charges are possible.
Well, I guess the question is, you can know Shawn Combs and not be indicted. You know, there has to be more to be criminally charged. You don't believe that they've spoken to the people who have been working with Combs and saying, listen, I can prosecute you. If you are facilitating these freak-offs and you are drugging people or you're bringing people across lines for commercial sex and you're engaging in this, I could easily charge you with racketeering. But I'm going to work out a deal with you where I won't prosecute you. You just have to testify against Combs. You don't think that's happened behind the scenes already?
Absolutely, that's happened.
Oh, because you said before, I don't think there's any deals to be. I don't think anybody else is to be charged. There are people who could be charged.
Oh, no, I don't think anybody else is going to be charged.
But you say that there are people who could be that the government knows.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think that they'll be testifying. And if he does not take a plea, if they don't offer him anything, there's going to be so much that comes out that just shocks everybody. So,
Afi, let's say you have a client and they say to you, listen, oh my gosh, look, I went to 12 of Diddy's parties. How do I know I'm in trouble? What makes someone in trouble if they're at these parties? Is it that they attended them? Is it that they witnessed it, they didn't do anything? Is it that they partook in it? What would make somebody in legal trouble from a criminal standpoint?
Well, if we look at the indictment and, look at the charges, and it's all about facilitation. So I wouldn't necessarily be concerned if you were an attendee. I don't think you're a target if you're an attendee. I don't think that supports their prosecution of Puffy, Shawn Combs. I think I would say it's nothing I would worry about, and I wouldn't go ahead and volunteer any information. Nobody's looking for you if you're just a participant at a party. Be quiet, sit down, relax your nerves, and I just probably counsel them on that. But I think that if you were any type of employee, if you were there, if you were, a driver, a bodyguard, a chef, if you were a trainer, any of the service workers who were around, anybody, a publicist, anybody who worked on behalf of the Combs empire, they should be concerned. But attendees, I wouldn't say it's a big deal.
Because it's aiding and abetting, right? Essentially.
If you're facilitating, if you're working with the Combs enterprise, I think that's what the prosecution would be looking at. You are facilitating these criminal activities. Let's say you engaged in one of these freak-offs. Do you think you could be prosecuted for it? I don't think so. I think, freak-offs, prostitution, it's such an interesting line, when we're talking about morality versus illegality. Participating in a freak-off, to what extent did you participate in it? What role did you play? Was it willingly? Did you willingly play a role? Were you forced? What did you do? Now, if you were my client and you participated, I have a ton more questions. But if you are just an attendee at a party consuming, any type of illicit drugs or alcohol or participating in any sexual activity, I don't think that that's a big deal in this case.
Let me ask you this. People have been quite vocal since the allegation surfaced against Combs. People have been quite vocal after the indictment, but it's also been interesting to see the people who have been silent and who haven't said anything. And these are people who used to, associate themselves with Combs. Is that because, from a PR point of view, they don't want to say anything about him? Or if I had a list of the over 50 witnesses and alleged victims of Combs that the government says that they've already interviewed, and I look at that list, there's a lot of people I recognize. What do you think?
I mean, That's such an interesting question. They've been silent. Silent how? Like, what do you want from a person? Do you want them to make a press release about their support of him or their innocence? It's like,
Nah, you want them to be loud. The same way that when Diddy was on top and they was all in the pictures hugged up. Yeah, this my boy, bad boys for life. Look, them same ones that was loud need to be just as loud, fighting for your boy. That's just real, man. Like, so it makes you look at it differently. It makes you look at it differently when you think about the people that were so loud, as you see even in the recent months after they raided his house, or even prior to that. Let's go back to within the past year, as the allegations were coming out before the Cassie tape. Anybody that was coming to his defense, it really makes you take a look at those people to say, why are you so quiet now? I mean, you were coming to his defense prior, so why are you so quiet now? Let's go.
like I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, "A hit dog hollers." I would be quiet as well. I'd stay out of it until I'm summoned.
Well, I tell you this, when Harvey Weinstein, the allegations came out, when he was charged, you had a lot of high-profile people who came out and talked about him and said what they observed about him. Some regretted their decisions, their associations. I don't know if you're seeing that so much with Combs, and that's why I think you're seeing people say maybe they're afraid to speak up, and maybe they're about to run to the government and with information, or maybe they're one of their cooperating witnesses that they've already spoken with the government. I think that's why.
Yeah, so what's so interesting is I think that we have been seeing people who have been affected by Shawn Combs. We've seen it in the lawsuits. He's got innumerable lawsuits out. We've got people who have been speaking out on the blogs, who've been doing interviews on the blogs. People have been ringing the bell for years, but even more recently, you've got people who have been in his inner circle. Who have been opinion treated unfairly, who have been ringing the alarm and saying things. And I think that, just because the most high profile person you can think of hasn't said anything, I don't think that doesn't mean people aren't saying things. Again, if you're my client, please don't be a hit dog hollering out here. I would say rest your nerves and wait until you're summoned. Or if you have anything that you think is vital and you want to be involved in this investigation, let's talk about that.
All right, well, we'll wait and see. This is just week one. I'm sure there's a lot more that's going to be coming out, but we'll continue to follow it. Afi Patterson, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody, that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Thank you so much for joining us. And as
So what do you think, guys, man? What do y'all think, man? I mean, do y'all see more people getting indicted? Do y'all think more is going to come out in regards to Biggie, Tupac? Do y'all think that J-Lo is going to have something to say about this? Do you think J-Lo might get charged since that they're going to RICO? I think you can go back and open up all these cases from my belief. So would she be facing any charges for carrying the gun that night that Shawn said he was the one that pulled the shot? They said that Shawn was the fall guy. 9 years for Diddy. 9 years. And then Diddy hired people to come and what if Shawn hired people to come testify for Diddy that he knew about back then? But Shawn said it was nothing more than just business. So thank you, everybody, for joining in, man. I mean, we're going to continue to follow this. Shout out to everybody that's been showing love and support. If you are a follower and a subscriber and a supporter of mine, go ahead and subscribe, like the video, drop a comment. I appreciate everybody that's been dropping in all the love. Y'all be safe. Take care. Peace.